Well, hello everyone. It's me again. So this weekend, Crystal is off. She has prior engagements, but I'd like to welcome you all to another episode of the Taco Podcast. First, I'm going to be answering some questions asked by you, the viewers of this channel. Then I'm going to get into a little bit of an overview of how our Thanksgiving week and holiday went. Now, first, I must say, I hope that you had a pleasant holiday if you celebrate the actual holiday itself and you gathered with friends and family. If not, I hope you had a relaxing holiday, if you did have to spend it by yourself. I understand some people had to work, and also, a lot of families out there have been hurting right now because of the economy, and it wasn't, feasible for them to travel or to really put on a celebration. But the time needs to be remembered and spent, in the following things. Remember, it's a social event. Even if you didn't get to spend it with your friends and family, I hope that you were able to at least enjoy it. Have a cupcake, something special on that day, but just relax. A lot of people work it up into be a lot more than it needs to be. All right, answering some viewer questions. First question that we have today is, how long have you and Crystal been married? Well, me and Crystal have been together 26 total years, but we've been married for 25. Next question, asked by viewers, is what is it that Crystal does for a living and what do you do for a living? Well, let's see, we'll start with Crystal. Crystal, what does she do for a living? She is a health physics technician. Basically, in a nutshell, she makes sure that job sites are safe for the construction crews. She makes sure that there is no excessive radiation that can is obviously going to either make them sick or kill. She works in basically a nuclear wasteland, and it's a byproduct of the atomic revolution and the building of the atomic bombs. But she makes sure, basically, in a nutshell, boiling it all down, that the workplace is safe for everyone to be in. What do I do for a living? I do this. I talk to you. I tell stories. So in a nutshell, I guess you could call me a storyteller. My main forte is I research and I report on true crime. But that's what I do for, a living. I don't do anything else. I have, had jobs here and there outside of this. But for pretty much for the long haul, for the last 4 years, I've been doing this. But I've also taken jobs where I worked, in the archives department for certain projects, but this is mainly it. It doesn't pay the bills, but I'm able to somehow eat by each and every month. All right, next question. I understand that you have one child, but somebody had mentioned in the comments that you have more than one child. This is true. We have two children. We have a daughter who is 24 years old, and we have a son that is 6 years old. Yes, me and Crystal, we are old and curmudgeon individuals, but we have two children, and they have that far of a spread in between them. When we thought that we were done having children, God looked upon us and said, you have too much money. You have too much time on your hands. You're going to enjoy the rest of this. How about you enjoy this with a new baby? And our son was born. I kid that about it, but that's the way I look at it, though. I believe that God only gives me what I can handle, and I had enough love and attention and everything else to support another child. Definitely have the room for it, but that's why we have two children that are so far apart. Was the second one not planned? No. Was the first one planned? No. But that's just the way we live our lives. So we have two. To answer the question, two children. Next question. You mentioned that you had gone to college. What did you go to college for? I went to Washington State University in Washington State. And yes, that is a state on the west coast of the United States of America. There's 3 states that are actually on the coast. It's Washington, Oregon, California. That makes up the Pacific coast of the United States. Well, minus Alaska and Hawaii, which also border the Pacific. But people want to say that they don't, but whatever. Yeah, anyways, so I went to Washington State University. I majored in communication, getting my degree eventually in communications with mass media, specialty. I have a degree where I can actively pursue a career in journalism. I haven't necessarily done that, but I have worked quite a few different jobs behind the scenes doing research. I'm new to this entire thing. I've only been doing this for about 3 years full time in front of a camera. But I also, my minor was to get an education degree to teach K through 6 in elementary school. And I came about that close to actually becoming a school teacher and making, what I thought was a difference. And I went as far as doing some of my in-class study work to become a school teacher. And then I left the entire college and everything and got a job because I was pretty much broke at that point. So, I'm gonna fix my collar. It keeps on popping out of my coat here. Anyways, next question and final question for today. So, on a recent episode of the Taco Podcast that I caught, Crystal was talking about her struggles with unemployment. Has all that been resolved, and did she win the actual dispute with her former employer? Okay. I'm going to boil this down into a small package because I could go on for about a half an hour, 45 minutes on this one. Did she win her claim? Yes. They didn't even bother to put on a defense. They filed a appeal of her unemployment benefits and said that that she didn't leave underneath the terms that they did. When it came down to it, they showed up for the hearing, but they did not put on much of a fight at all and did not supply any documents in advance to dispute anything that they said. And what they were doing is, in a nutshell, and this is the most terrible part of it all, was if an employer gets so many claims against them, their unemployment insurance rates go up. For what they have to pay. So they automatically fight every single claim to keep those total claims as low as possible, for unemployment. And they tried to dispute and ask for all the money back that she had been paid out during that period of time, which took forever to actually get any benefits. But in a nutshell, she did, that is all wrapped up. She did win the fight against her former employer. And, we have nothing bad to say about them other than it's kind of a dirty thing to do to fight someone, especially when they're in need. And they left underneath good terms, and they've decided to make it, what it is. Because you know what, we love the people that she worked with, and she loves the job, and everything else, and we want to keep those connections, forever. Just because she's working in a completely different field and different area now, doesn't mean that the people that that were there before that we don't support them. So we have nothing bad to say, and that's why we've never released the name of her former employer. Okay, now I wanted to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Wow. Let's start with the week leading up to Thanksgiving. We had friends and family and significant others, I guess you could call them, that were coming into town from out of the area, out of state, who are coming here to have Thanksgiving with us, and we had some reserves about that. Not knowing these people, not seeing, actually physically seen them before. We've seen them on the internet. We knew of them, but, we didn't necessarily know them. But we had some apprehension, but, that was quickly, resolved as it was part of like the ramp up, the emotions, dealing with Thanksgiving and getting everything prepared and making sure everything, and we had all of our ducks aligned and everything else. But it was kind of mixed in there. But it wasn't apprehension because of who they were, or that we had never met them before. It was more that the emotions of it all were mixed together. But it all resolved itself, quickly in short order. Certainly, right after meeting them, in person and having them here in our home. We opened our home, to them, and they were willing to stay with us and eat with us for the entire week, leading up to it. And then we had other guests that were coming into town, as well for Thanksgiving. But I'd say overall, if I have to give myself a letter grade, because I cooked all the food myself this year, except for the rolls and a couple other dishes that people brought to the actual event. But I made the desserts. I made the main courses. I made a prime rib, and then I made turkey. And it all pretty much worked out. There were some hiccups here and there. At one point we realized we didn't have a sharp knife to actually carve with. I had meant to get around to sharpening them, but I didn't. And then they stepped in. They sharpened the knives for us, so we could actually carve the turkey and the prime rib. That was good. But overall, if I have to give myself a grade on it, I'd give myself a B on it. I mean, I definitely things could have worked a little bit smoother in some areas, but overall, it was a good experience. And the best part about it was, we got to sit down and just relax, enjoy the conversations, and visiting with people, learning about people, where they've been, what's taken place in the last year. Because remember, some of the people who were here for Thanksgiving, we haven't seen in 3 years. We hadn't seen them since before COVID, and now finally, they're able to socialize and come to our home. And again, then others who we'd never met in person before from out of state came to spend the holiday with us. And we didn't have any real issues. We had a couple people that everybody does, in every family, the loud, boisterous, one that that are extreme. It always seems to be that the loud, boisterous ones are the most opinionated. Even if they're wrong, they think that they're right. You always have those. But we were able to keep conflicts, down to a dull roar, pretty much. And I hope that nobody was offended by these people or anybody else. I hope that everybody had a great time, and for the large part, as people left, I tried to ask them how their visit went and how did they enjoy everything, the food, the atmosphere, and everything else. So it worked out. And it could have been a lot worse. We kept we on purpose. We kept the consumption of alcohol by all patrons who were here to a bare minimum. There were a couple who had a glass of wine or a beer here and there, but keeping it to the dull roar, because alcohol seems to be the fuel. Like it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. In a lot of family social situations, I mean, they may get along for the most part when there's no alcohol involved, but it just seems like you add alcohol, it's just like make instant asshole out of some people, and they don't realize necessarily what they're doing. But we purposely restricted that. We bought a lot of sparkling cider, sodas and juices and other things for other alternatives for people to have. So that worked out. Let's see, what else is there? Transportation wise and moving, getting people around, that was kind of a headache, because not everybody, obviously who was coming here, had their own transportation. So we had to work, and organize, people going from, and picking other people up and bringing them, to our home. So that was important. Some people, have barriers to accessibility. They're either in wheelchairs or walkers. So we had to make special arrangements so some people could, who had not only the ability but they could move them, from place to place, and then make sure that they, obviously the return trips as well. I was really surprised. This is only like the third or fourth time that I've smoked some kind of like large meat, like a prime rib. And it worked out so good. I mean, I had started off with a 30-pound prime rib, and by the end of it, I think we had maybe 2 pounds, 3 pounds of it left. I mean, it was that good. I put it in the smoker for about 8 hours, in the smoker, and I did it with mesquite and with cherry. So it had, like, the two different types of smoke flavor to it. It was so good. And then the turkey itself, I just oven baked the turkey and basted it with a, I guess you'd call it a sauce of that I had made from um, drippings, and I also made celery, onion, carrots, and stuff like that, that I had pureed down and then made a sauce. So I basted the turkey with that, and then put it inside. It was so good. So again, I hope that everyone out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving and you were able to enjoy it. And life is very fleeting. And if you don't spend time with the people, even if you don't get along with them always, if you don't spend time with them, their time on this earth is precious. Your time on this earth is precious. There's absolutely no reason to force yourself to be in a social situation with friends and family if you don't get along with them. But I look at it as trying to, each and every holiday, Thanksgiving, and we have Christmas coming up, and we will have another gathering here as well, and I hope that you do as well. I try to look at it as, I take each holiday as itself, in its own thing. Can we just get by, and minimize the turmoil? Can I get by and just let it be within itself, and don't take any of those emotions and hurt, and distrust, and move them into my day-to-day life? I mean, at the same time, I have to look at them and say, hey, today is another day. Today is about family. Today is about, us being together, and just enjoying this time that we do have on earth, because none of us have a guarantee that we'll be here tomorrow. So that's about it. Again, next week, Crystal, will be back next week. She had planned obligations that she had to be at this weekend. But I hope that each and every one of you has an awesome week going forward, and stay safe out there. Until next time.